We're going to start out today's show with Jeff Jardine. Welcome.
Thank you.
We were just talking before we went on the air about when people meet somebody from the bee, it's like they are the bee. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it's just what happens when you go out in the community. I mean, probably a little different for me than most reporters because my face is on with the column sig, the column logo. So yeah, I'm more recognizable. But with that, if I were to be rude or abrupt or anything, I mean that reflects badly on the paper, and that's not the way I work. So I just try to take the time and visit with people as much as I can, and heck, they're readers. I tell my daughter when we go to the store, and she gets upset because I'm not spending enough time talking to her, and I just say, hey, look, if they aren't reading, the bee ain't needing.
Do you get a lot of people who come up and talk to you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the columns come from. People ask you, where do you get your column ideas? Well, a lot of them come from picking up the phone, from chatting with people. Maybe that won't be a column that day. They may not have an idea for you, but they're thinking of you. Mm-hmm. And I mean, a lot of the best columns I've ever had have come from that.
How long does it take from conception to actually get it out in the paper?
Well, it's all depending. Like right now, we're working on things down the road for a couple projects, but at the same time, I have 3 columns a week that have to be done. So every day, like I came in today and started working on my Tuesday column. It's usually a notes column on Tuesday, meaning that there's several different items within the column. And then for the Thursday and Sunday columns, they're a little more issue-oriented. The Sunday column, I always want to be a really good read for people on a Sunday morning. And sometimes it can be real issue-oriented. Other times it can be more human interest-oriented. I look at my column as that I'm not the voice of the Modesto Bee. The voice of the Modesto Bee is the editorial board and Judy Sly, the opinions page. I am a voice in the Bee, and I treat the column as a conversation with the reader.
I noticed some of your articles are, like you say, kind of human interest, and they're interesting. And other articles you write actually have teeth. I mean, there was one that I read not too long ago, about a month ago, I guess, and it was like, wow. I actually felt the bite from that one. What makes the difference when you're writing? Is it because it's more personal, or you have more input from the people who have contributed to the story? What gives it that bite?
Well, the urgency of the issue is going to dictate whether I do more of an issue-oriented piece. I mean, we've had so many things happening here with the officer being and the locksmith being killed, Bob Paris and Lyndon Enkert. That those kinds of issues will cry out for a little more opinion, but I also base it on reporting. I do a lot of reporting. I don't sit there and wing it. I just don't do that. I think that if you're going to have an opinion, it has to be an informed one. And so that's what I intend to do, is to back it up and to be able to say, hey, this is why I feel this way, and this is why it needs to be addressed.
How do you find the human interest stories other than people coming to you? If you look at your inbox and there's not much there, do you pick up the phone and call people and
certainly.
say?
Yeah, certainly. And it's not just cold calls. I mean, one of the things you do is you're constantly networking. You're constantly talking to people. I wrote a column in 2006 about a gentleman who had turned 97 years old. At that point, he had lived 89 years with a bullet in his head. Set a Guinness World Record for the longest time with a bullet in his head. Well, he died a couple weeks ago at 103. He'd been living 94 years old. A good friend of his today called me up, or I called him to follow up on something that's going to be in tomorrow's paper. Meantime, this guy says, hey, by the way, I've got a column idea for you. And he tells me what the column idea is. He's got to get some names, and he's going to, when he gets some names and phone numbers, he'll call me back. You work like that out in the community. It's real important to be engaged in the community and be very approachable so that people can come to you with good column ideas.
How much time does that take as far as your networking or the follow-up? Because for people who read the paper, I mean, it takes, 10 minutes or maybe 20 minutes to read the article, but sometimes they don't realize how much time it took to get to that point.
Well, and when you write a column that shows up in, say, Thursday's paper, that doesn't mean that I began working on it, Wednesday at noon. I mean, that could be a column I've had in the works for 2 or 3 weeks, and maybe I just didn't like what I had so far. I needed more reporting, so I'll hold it. Another thing will just be right there, and I can write that one and take more time to do a better job on this one. A lot of those end up becoming Sunday columns, the ones that have a lot more reporting and a lot more detail.
I like the ones with the more detail. I like to know all the backstories and the intricate details. Like I said, that one that you wrote about a month ago, it had some teeth. It was really good. It was really good. I should have clipped it out and brought it with me. I did save it at home. I should have brought it with me this evening. Something else that's going on at the Modesto Bee, the people here in Modesto realize that the longtime editor has retired, but the people who are seeing this show that are outside the area may not know the story about that. You now have a new editor.
Mark Vichet retired after 4 decades at the Modesto Bee. He's been replaced by Joe Kita. Joe had been in Merced at the Sun Star, which we also own, McClatchy owns. Then he went, his last stop was in South Carolina, and he's back in the Valley with the Modesto Bee. Joe's a really good guy, and we're going to, I think, benefit a lot from his understanding of the translation from this newspaper era to more of an internet era.
You mean like with modb.com?
Oh, certainly, yeah. And I think there's no blueprint for this to turn newspapers into internet companies. And I think that he's got a lot of experience that'll help us creep toward that.
Do you find a lot of your subscriptions are online now?
Oh, yeah. We still have a huge market share. Something like 70% of the county reads the Bee in some form. It's huge.
And I was going to ask you something else, too, about the Modesto Bee. You're downtown on I Street. Is that where you go to work?
That is where I go to work. Contrary to popular opinion, I don't drive to Sacramento every day.
And you don't work from home?
No. Well, on occasion, once in a while, but there's usually a reason for it that's more personal to me than it is to the Bee. I have that freedom to do that if I need to. But, no, I've been in the same desk since been in the same newsroom since 1988 when we moved upstairs after the remodel of the building. I've been in the same desk probably for the last 7 years, 6 years, 7 years, and nothing's changed, nothing at all. The mission of the Bee hasn't changed. The mission of what I do hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is some of the economics that we can't control. What's changed is that the paper is now printed in Sacramento and brought down here to distribute.
I don't understand how that can be more economical, but,
Well, it was the cost of the press. Our press was the same press basically USA Today had. It cost a lot more to run it. They can, we had basically one crew running one press up there in Sacramento. They can do multiple.
And with the internet,
Right.
when you can just send it all electronically.
Right.
Well, for those people out there who would like to contact you about writing a story, where can they find you? They
can reach me at jjardine@modb.com, or they can call me directly on my personal line, and I do answer it, and I do return calls, 209-578-2383.
You do. That's how you're here tonight. So I really appreciate you returning my phone call. So thank you very much.
Thank you.